Hello, I'm Willie from the Ozarks, and we're ready for lesson 99 in A Course in Miracles workbook for students here on Sunday, April the 9th of 2023. Salvation is my only function here. Salvation is my only function here. Salvation and forgiveness are the same. They both imply that something has gone wrong, something you need to be saved from or forgiven for, something amiss that needs corrective change, something apart or different from the will of God. Thus do both terms imply the thought of the impossible which has occurred, resulting in a state of conflict now between what is and what could never be. Truth and illusions, both are equal now, for both have happened. The impossible becomes the thing you need forgiveness for, salvation from. Salvation is the borderland between the truth and illusion. It reflects the truth because it is the means by which you can escape illusions. Yet it is not truth because it undoes what was never done. It reflects the truth because it is the means by which you can escape illusions. Yet it is not truth because it undoes what was never done. How could there be a meeting place at all where earth and heaven can be reconciled within a mind where both of them exist? The mind that sees illusions thinks them real. They have existence in that they are thoughts. And yet they are not real because the mind that thinks these thoughts are separate from God. What joins the separated mind and thoughts with mind and thought which are forever one? What plan could hold the truth inviolate, yet recognize the need illusions bring and offer means by which they are undone without attack and with no touch of pain? What plan, let's read that again, what plan could hold the truth inviolate, yet recognize the need illusions bring, and offer means by which they are undone, without attack, and with no touch of pain? What but a thought of God could be this plan by which the never done is overlooked and sin forgotten, and sins forgotten which were never real? What but a thought of God could be this plan by which the never done is overlooked and sins forgotten, which were never real? I just love it, the idea that when you follow God, He removes those things out of our lives that are not worthy of a son of God without a touch of pain. Even though we think we need those things, if we just keep turning them over to God, letting them go, practice forgiveness, seeing the truth, He just takes them all away without any pain at all. And we don't have to use any attack. We don't have to push anyone away. We just love as we were created and rely on the Holy Spirit to bring about the miracles. Always comes. The Holy Spirit holds this plan of God exactly as it was received of Him within the mind of God and in your own. It is apart from time in that its source is timeless. Yet it operates in time because of your belief that time is real. Unshaken does the Holy Spirit look on what you see, on sin and pain and death, on grief and separation, and on loss. Yet does He know one thing must still be true. God still is love, and this is not His will. So anything that speaks of sin and pain and death, of grief and separation and loss, the Holy Spirit sees one thing that still must be true. God still is love, and this is not His will. This is the thought which brings illusions to the truth and sees them as appearances behind which is the changeless and the sure. This is the thought which saves and which forgives, because it lays no faith in what is not created by the only source it knows. This is the thought whose function is to save by giving you its function as your own. Salvation is your function with the one to whom the plan was given. Now are you entrusted with this plan along with Him? He has one answer to appearances, regardless of their form. Regardless of their form, their size, their depth, or any attribute they seem to have. Salvation is my only function here. God still is love, and this is not His will. You who will yet work miracles, be sure you practice well the idea for today. You who will yet work miracles, be sure you practice well the idea for today. Try to perceive the strength in what you say, for these are words in which your freedom lies. Your Father loves you. All the world of pain is not His will. All the world of pain is not God's will. Forgive yourself the thought He wanted this for you. Forgive yourself the thought He wanted this for you. Then let the thought with which He has replaced all your mistakes enter the darkened places of your mind, which thought the thoughts that never were His will. This part belongs to God, as does the rest. It does not think its solitary thoughts and make them real by hiding them from Him. Let in the light, and you will look upon no obstacle to what He wills for you. Open your secrets to His kindly light, and see how bright this light still shines in you. Practice His thought today, and let His light seek out and lighten up all darkened spots and shine through them to join them to the rest. It is God's will your mind be one with His. It is God's will that He has but one Son. It is God's will that His one Son is you. Think of these things in practicing today, and start your longer practice periods with this instruction in the way of truth. Salvation is my only function here. Salvation and forgiveness are the same. Then turn to Him who shares your function here, and let Him teach you what you need to learn to lay all fear aside and know yourself as love, which has no opposite in you. Know yourself as love, which has no opposite in you. Forgive all thoughts which would oppose the truth of your completeness, unity, and peace. You cannot lose the gift your Father gave. You do not want to be another self. You have no other function that is not of God. Forgive yourself the one you think you made. Forgiveness and salvation are the same. Forgive what you have made, and you are saved. You have a special message for today, which has the power to remove all forms of doubt and fear forever from your mind. If you are tempted to believe them true, remember that appearances cannot withstand the truth these mighty words contain. Salvation is my only function here. God still is love, and this is not His will. Your only function tells you you are one. Remind yourself of this between the times you give 5 minutes to be shared with Him who shares God's plan with you. Remind yourself, salvation is my only function here. Thus do you lay forgiveness on your mind, and let all fear be gently laid aside, that love may find its rightful place in you and show you that you are the Son of God. So we're going to continue doing our 5-minute practices today, and begin them with the idea, salvation is my only function here. Salvation and forgiveness are the same. And as you see things come up in your mind that speak of terror, of sin and pain and grief and death and loss and all the other tragedies that we've made up in our minds that they appear real, say to them, salvation is my only function here. God still is love, and this is not His will. Okay, let's go take a look at our text reading for today. And we're in chapter 10, God and the Ego, section Roman numeral 8, the problem and the answer, paragraph 69. And if you'd like to follow along and turn there, while you're turning there, let me just tell you a little bit about a cabbage. Also, you can plant You know, here in the Ozarks, you can plant your cabbages along with your broccoli we talked about yesterday. And this is the golden acre cabbage. I'm reading to you out of Baker's Creek Heirloom Seeds, and it's a Brassica oleracea. It's a 65-day cabbage, very early, high-quality sort. Dense, solid heads are spherical, 5 to 7 inches in diameter, and weigh 3 to 5 pounds. Plants are very compact relative to the size of the heads, allowing closer spacing than some varieties. Fine for coleslaw, stir fries, and other fresh uses. Not usually considered an excellent storage type, but it's one of the earliest types we sell and popular since at least the 1920s. So that's your golden acre. It's a green cabbage. And let's see, what's going on around the world today as far as festivals and holidays. And of course, it's Easter Sunday. Easter Sunday, happy Easter. And other things, Appomattox Day, Chinese Almond Cookie Day, Global Day to End Child Sexual Abuse, International ASMR Day, Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, ASMR, International ASMR Day, Jenkins Ear Day, Jumbo Day, Name Yourself Day, National Baked Ham with Pineapple Day, National Cherish an Antique Day, National Chicken Little Awareness Day, National Dive Bar Day, National Former Prisoner of War Day, National Gin and Tonic Day, Greek Orthodox Palm Sunday, and Winston Churchill Day. Okay, so let's go take a look now in our text. The problem and the answer, paragraph 69 in chapter 10, God and the Ego. The world as you perceive it cannot have been created by the Father, for the world is not as you see it. God created only the eternal, and everything you see is perishable. Therefore there must be another world which you do not see. Therefore there must be another world which you do not see. Boy, this really goes along good with our lesson for today. Salvation is my only function here. Anything that's not love, and it seems to speak of fear and loss and death, you can say, "This God still is love, and this is not my will." The world as you perceive it cannot have been created by the Father, for the world is not as you see it. God created only the eternal, and everything you see is perishable. Therefore there must be another world which you do not see. The Bible speaks of a new heaven and a new earth, yet this cannot be literally true, for the eternal are not recreated. To perceive anew is merely to prevent again, implying that before or in the interval you are not perceiving at all. What then is the world that awaits your perception when you see it? And, you know, I failed to look that one up for you to tell you where you can find it in the Bible, but let me tell you a little quick, easy one. Since you're watching me on the YouTube, you've got internet access. Just put in the quote that you want out of the Bible, and you'll find it. You might have to do a little searching, but put down the word Bible, and in this particular one, a new heaven and a new earth, and it'll come up pretty quick and easy. Paragraph 70. Every loving thought that the Son of God ever had is eternal. Those which his mind perceived in this world are the world's only reality. They are still perceptions because he still believes that he is separate. Yet they are eternal because they are loving. And being loving, they are like the Father and therefore cannot die. The real world can actually be perceived. All that is necessary is a willingness to perceive nothing else. For if you perceive both good and evil, you are accepting both the false and the true, and making no distinction between them. 71. The ego sees some good, but never only good. That is why its perceptions are so variable. It does not reject goodness entirely, for that you could not accept, but it always adds something that is not real to the real, thus confusing illusion and reality. For perceptions cannot be partly true. If you believe in truth and illusion, you cannot tell which is true. To establish your personal autonomy, you tried to create unlike your father, believing what you made to be capable of being unlike him. Yet everything in what you have made that is true is like him. Only this is the real world, and perceiving only this will lead you to the real heaven, because it will make you capable of understanding it. 72. The perception of goodness is not knowledge, but the denial of the opposite of goodness enables you to perceive a condition in which opposites do not exist. And this is the condition of knowledge. Without this awareness, you have not met its conditions, and until you do, you will not know that it is yours already. You have made many ideas which you have placed between yourselves and your Creator, and these beliefs are the world as you perceive it. Truth is not absent here, but it is obscure. You do not know the difference between what you have made and what God created, and so you do not know the difference between what you have made and what you have created. 73. To believe that you can perceive the real world is to believe that you can know yourself. You can know God because it is His will to be known. The real world is all that the Holy Spirit has saved for you out of what you have made. And to perceive only this is salvation, because it is the recognition that reality is only what is true. 74. This is a very simple course. Perhaps you do not feel that a course which in the end teaches nothing more than that only reality is true is necessary. But do you believe it? When you have perceived the real world, you will recognize that you did not believe it. Yet the swiftness with which your new and only real perception will be translated into knowledge will leave you only an instant to realize that this judgment is true. 75. And then everything you made will be forgotten, the good and the bad, the false and the true. For as heaven and earth become one, even the real world will vanish from your sight. The end of the world is not its destruction, but its translation into heaven. The end of the world is not its destruction, but its translation into heaven. The reinterpretation of the world is the transfer of all perception to knowledge. The Bible tells you to become as little children. He tells you that in Matthew 18, verse 3 and 4. The Bible tells you to become as little children. Little children recognize that they do not understand what they perceive, and so they ask what it means. Do not make the mistake of believing that you understand what you perceive, for its meaning is lost to you. Yet the Holy Spirit has saved its meaning for you, and if you will let Him interpret it for you, He will restore what you have thrown away. As long as you think you know its meaning, you will see no need to ask it of Him. You do not know, paragraph 76, you do not know the meaning of anything you perceive. Not one thought you hold is wholly true. The recognition of this is your firm beginning. And that's why we began in lesson 1 in the course. Nothing I see means anything. He wants us to be like little children and ask why. Let's see the real. Let's separate out what we made that's not real from what God made or created, which is eternally real and always is, even now, even in the appearances. And the Holy Spirit will bring that to your perception if you ask. You do not know the meaning of anything you perceive. Not one thought you hold is wholly true. The recognition of this is your firm beginning. You are not misguided. You have accepted no guide at all. Instruction in perception is your great need, for you understand nothing. Recognize this, but do not accept it, for understanding is your inheritance. Perceptions are learned, and you are not without a teacher. Yet your willingness to learn of him depends on your willingness to question everything you have learned of yourself. For you who have learned amiss should not be your own teachers. 77. He's really trying to encourage us to ask the Holy Spirit for help in guidance. No one can withhold truth except from himself. This is paragraph 77. No one can withhold truth except from himself. Yet God will not refuse the answer he gave you. Ask then what is yours, but which you did not make, and do not defend yourself against truth. You made the problem which God has answered. Ask yourselves, therefore, but one simple question. Do I want the problem, or do I want the answer? Do I want the problem, or do I want the answer? Decide for the answer, and you will have it, for you will see it as it is, and it is yours already. We'll include that in our song today. And paragraph 80. And how are we looking on time? We better end on this paragraph for today. You complain that this course is not sufficiently specific for you to understand it and use it. Yet it has been very specific, and you have not done what it specifically advocates. It has been very specific, and you have not done what it specifically advocates. Are you taking those 5 minutes every hour of the day right now in our learning? That's just one example. If we're really following the Holy Spirit and this curriculum, well then I just want to encourage you to do the best you can. You can't always do it, and he understands that. But do the best you can to take that 5 minutes every hour. This is not a course in the play of ideas, but in their practical application. Nothing could be more specific than to be told very clearly that if you ask, you will receive. The Holy Spirit will answer every specific problem as long as you believe that problems are specific. His answer is both many and one, as long as you believe that the one is many. Realize that you are afraid of his specificity for fear of what you think it will demand of you. Yet only by asking will you learn that nothing that is of God demands anything of you. God gives, he does not take. Should we stop there? You are refusing to ask because you believe that asking is taking, and you do not perceive it as sharing. The Holy Spirit will give you only what is yours and will take nothing in return. For what is yours is everything, and you share it with God. This is its reality. Would the Holy Spirit, who wills only to restore, be capable of misinterpreting the question you must ask to learn his answer? I think I said we'd stop on 80. I went ahead and read 81. Okay, well let's go take a look at our song. And just an encouragement, salvation is my only function here. He has one answer to appearances of fear. God still is love, and this is not his will. And tell yourself in those longer practice periods, which are only going to last 5 minutes, God is my only function here. Salvation and forgiveness are the same. Okay, well, let's see what we can do about our song today. Salvation is my only function here. Salvation is my only function here. He has one answer to appearances of fear. God still is love, and this is not His will. Salvation is my only function here. God still is love, and this is not His will. Salvation is my only function here. Salvation and forgiveness are the same. Salvation is my only function here. Salvation and forgiveness are the same. Do I want the problem, or do I want the answer? Decide for the answer and you will have it. Do I want the problem, or do I want the answer? Decide for the answer and you will have it. Salvation is my only function here. Salvation is my only function here. He has one answer to appearances of fear. God still is love, and this is not His will. Salvation is my only function here. Salvation and forgiveness are the same. Salvation is my only function here. Salvation and forgiveness are the same. Salvation is my only function here. He has one answer to appearances of fear. God still is love, and this is not His will. Salvation is my only function here. Salvation and forgiveness are the same. Salvation is my only function here. Salvation is my only function here. God still is love, and this is not His will. Say that to anything that doesn't look like love to you, or happiness, or joy, or peace. God still is love, and this is not His will. Salvation is my only function here. Salvation and forgiveness are the same.